From the pages of Wrestling Monthly in November 1977, the golden age of wrestling journalism thunders in black and white print and color photo spreads, opening with the blunt voice of publisher Norman Kietzer, who uses his editorial space not for soft pleasantries but to aim fire directly at the New York State Athletic Commission, asking whether its members are guilty of bias, hammering on the idea that the double standards of how violence is viewed in sports versus in professional wrestling expose hypocrisy, and daring to name Jackie Robinson as a man who should stand up against unfair treatment of grapplers, an editorial that frames the entire issue as one that is not afraid of controversy or confrontation. From there, the features crash forward James C. Melby paying tribute in Ramon Torres Carries On, chronicling the life and career of Ramon, the proud brother of Enrique and Alberto Torres, who forged a name across the United States and Mexico, a veteran who battled injury yet remained on the road, adored by fans who remembered him from the 1950s into the 70s, a figure symbolic of the endurance required to thrive in the territorial system. Then comes tragedy, as G.R. Anthony reports in sober tones that auto accident claims Hercules Cortez, a Minnesota-based powerhouse whose career ended instantly on a July highway outside St. Paul, the piece recounting not just his death, but the heartbreak of a promising career cut short, a reminder that the hazards of the road were often greater than the hazards inside the squared circle. Norman Kietzer adds another somber note, with Yvon Robert is dead, chronicling the passing of Montreal's national hero, the man who carried Quebec wrestling on his back and drew massive crowds in the 40s. His death in 1971 here remembered with respect for his drawing power and his place as a French-Canadian icon. Light returns in the promoter's corner, where Wally Karbo, seasoned Minneapolis promoter, recalls being asked early in his career to bleed for a crowd, and uses the anecdote to explain his philosophy that while blood has its place in wrestling, it should never be demanded gratuitously. His words a window into how promoters balance spectacle with sport. LeRoy McGuirk's meticulous historical column, History of the World's Junior Heavyweight Championship, follows, stretching back to the 1930s and laying out a lineage of champions year by year, a printed archive of names who carried the belt across decades, ensuring fans understood that titles were not just props, but prizes with heritage. Kimberly Thomas then delivers The Von Brauners Are Back, a profile of the infamous German heel team, feared and hated across arenas for their goose-stepping arrogance and vicious teamwork, the piece reminding readers how foreign menace teams define tag wrestling's drama. G.R. Anthony returns with Giant of the Northland profiling a towering grappler whose size and power made him a draw, and Northern Territories, a folk hero of the Midwest whose very presence embodied the word giant. Allan Bolte supplies high drama with Graham verses, Stevens' Brawl detailing the combustible rivalry between superstar Billy Graham, muscle-bound and flamboyant, and Ray Stevens, the crippler whose toughness and sharp brawling turned their clashes into riots, the piece emphasizing how their feud brought arenas to a fever pitch. Norman Kietzer himself contributes The Destroyer Follows the Sun to New Zealand, recounting the travels of Dick Beyer, the masked destroyer whose tours abroad made him an international sensation. The article underlining how New Zealand and Japan had embraced him as one of the sport's great masked marvels. The middle of the issue brings briefer portraits and territory snapshots. The Patriot introduces a flag-draped babyface whose gimmick embodied American pride. Mary Vignon at home shows a softer personal side of a wrestling personality. WM Checks Out Columbus, Georgia provides a territorial report from the Southeast, while Circuit Close-Ups sweeps across multiple towns to give readers a taste of what was happening from Memphis to Portland. Mexican star El Solitario gets his due in El Solitario, reminding readers that Lucha Libre had its own legends with his mask, style, and charisma, explained for an American audience. TV Wrestling Guide provides the practical service of showing when and where wrestling aired on television in different regions, proof of how syndication glued the territories together. A rare feature in A Glimpse of Victor Rosetanni gives attention to a lesser-known grappler, spotlighting his contributions, while Miss K, noble, top gal grappler, lavishes praise on one of the most respected women wrestlers of her generation, a woman who combined toughness with skill, ensuring readers saw women's wrestling as a serious athletic pursuit. Lord Littlebrook, the midget champ, gives the midget division its due, celebrating his international accomplishments and ring charisma, highlighting how these matches were staples of cards across the U.S. The feuds and rivalries section roars alive with pro wrestling's biggest feud, Kirby versus Hodge, a deep dive into the legendary clashes between Danny Hodge, amateur great and junior heavyweight king, and Billy Kirby, a bitter rival whose battles with Hodge gave the division some of its greatest heat. Lou Albano's new tag team champions turns the focus to Captain Lou himself, the blustery New York manager famous for guiding chaos. Here celebrated for crowning yet another set of rule-breaking champions, his antics and wild personality selling just as many tickets as his wrestlers. The Listening Post acts as a commentary column, giving readers reflections on the state of the game, while the fan club world provides a window into the grassroots culture of pen pals, fan newsletters, and local gatherings where devotion to Bruno, Flair, or the Von Erichs translated into community. British Mat News brings dispatches from across the Atlantic charting the careers of Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, and the ongoing ITV boom of World of Sport Wrestling. The Wrestling Writers Association of America presents itself as a professional body lending credibility to wrestling journalism, reinforcing that the scribes behind the mags took themselves as seriously as the athletes themselves. And the issue closes with a Wall of Fame installment honoring George Hackenschmidt, the Russian Lion, one of the true godfathers of the sport, remembered here, not just as a name from the dusty past, but as the man whose feats and world championship reigns laid the foundation for all who came after. Between the features, the pages are filled with the ads and classifieds of the time, offers for glossy photo sets of wrestlers, subscription pitches to never miss an issue, back issues available for mail order, fan club invites, and correspondence courses promising to teach holds and conditioning, each advertisement part of the ecosystem of 70s fandom. The magazine blends it all, tragedy and tribute, history and hype, international and regional coverage, men's, women's, and midget wrestling, managerial mayhem, feuds remembered, and legends enshrined into a dense capsule of pro wrestling in late 1977. By the time the back cover closes, Wrestling Monthly has presented the sport in all its breadth, from Ramon Torres' resilience to Hercules Cortez's tragic death, from Yvon Roberts' memorial to Andre's awe-inspiring presence in circuit news, from the Von Brauners' menace to Kay Noble's toughness, from Albano's scheming to Hackenschmidt's immortality, proving once again that these magazines were not just souvenirs, but the living record of professional wrestling's golden territorial age.